My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. And today, all you'll need are blocks, and you may need a towel, but let's get right into it. I'm going to suggest that you start off in a seated position with your legs crossed. Priscilla asked me earlier today if she had to sit because knees are bothering her, and I said, no, you don't. And in fact, in all these poses, you don't have to do exactly what the instructor says. And that goes for any yoga class. Most yoga instructors don't want you to freestyle, meaning go off, do whatever you want to do. I find that a little irritating, but someone making a big modification because of their body, that's just common sense. And I support that completely. So anyway, come to a seated position, raise the crown of your head up high, straighten your spine. Make sure that your sit bones are engaged on the mat or on the blocks. Allow your eyes to close. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. And another in through your nose. Exhale it out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Throughout today's class, your own natural breath is all that's going to be needed. But you can always insert 1 or 2 or 3 deep cleansing breaths. That will calm your nervous system, reduce your heart rate, lower your blood pressure, and just bring a sense of calm to your body. Remember to do that whenever you're facing a stressful situation. Would like to add one additional part of this, and slowly, maybe you want to just begin to bend forward, bowing down. In Ashtanga, we do this in lotus position. But just come over forward until you have the right amount of stretch in your spine. Your hands can be on the mat. You can bring a block underneath your head. Try to keep your sit bones down. And if your sit bones just kind of creep up, maybe just tuck your tailbone under, lengthening your spine, stretching your back. Notice if your breath has changed due to the position of your lungs, now that they're slightly impeded. Try breathing into your upper lungs. Or your side body. Your body does all those modifications of your breath automatically. So you don't have to use your mind to direct something that's part of you. Most of your brain capacity is spent on managing your physical body. All those behind the scenes tasks like digestion, like knowing how to move. Once you learn something, it becomes rote, so that you don't have to think about it again. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, come all the way back up. Move any blocks you might have. Your feet out in front. Push your heels away. Stretch out your hamstrings and your calves. Maybe rock your feet left to right, turning your femurs in your hip sockets. And then come all the way down onto your back. Make sure you have a block within reach. Then walk your feet up towards your sit bones. The first pose that we're going to do is an inversion. So if you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, you want to avoid this and just stay in this position. But otherwise, you can bring a block, the flat direction, and on an inhale, tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips up, insert that block underneath your sacrum, and then lower back down. Lift your favorite foot up onto the ceiling, pushing your heels away, your heel away. And then when you're comfortable, bring the other foot up. Push both heels away. Your hands are either flat on the mat next to your hips. They can be out in T, can be in cactus. Whatever works for you. Notice how your feet feel, how your toes feel. And while you're using your breath to regulate your mind, so that your mind doesn't have to participate in this class, other than to just stand by and be an observer. Be a witness to what's happening. But your mind does not need to interfere and say, oh, you can't do this, or don't try this. Notice any changes in temperature of your feet or your legs. If your mind becomes busy at any point during class and wants to hijack your attention to what you're going to be eating later tonight, or something that may have happened in the past that you should have done differently, just note whatever that issue is. Take a deep breath and begin again. Nothing is more important than your body at this moment and for the next hour. Begin to deepen your breath. Bend one knee, and then lower that foot down next to your sit bones. And then the other knee. Feel the differences already. Lift your hips up, move the block. Gently lower back down. And bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right. And the next time you come over on your right side, go all the way over, and then use your left hand to push you back up to seated, and then through seated to table. Set your table with your knees directly below your hips, your wrist crease directly below your shoulders, and then drop your belly, bring your chest forward, lift your sit bones up, separate into cow, and on an exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone, and last, your chin comes towards your chest, and then begin all over again. This is bringing fluid to your hip and shoulder sockets. You need more fluid to your spine. And the next time you come to center pause, lift up your right leg and place it on the back wall. Push that heel away. Make sure that hip doesn't raise up too high. And then on an exhale, bring that right foot up on the outside of your right pinky finger. Coming into dragon. So we're going to do baby dragons. Your left knee can go back an inch or so, or maybe more, but rise up and bring your hands on top of that right knee. You have all kinds of options here. You can overstep by bringing your knee forward. And if you keep your heel on the mat, you'll get a great stretch in your lower leg, stretching your Achilles, your gastrocnemius muscles, your soleus. But as you're doing that, draw your right hip back. That will help square up your pelvis. The right hip should come forward. You should be feeling this a lot on the front of your right thigh. And that's your psoas muscle. On your right leg, you're also stretching your psoas, but your right leg is flexed. Your psoas attaches to your lumbar spine and then also to the top of your femur, right across the front of your pelvis, your hip crease. If you want to stay here, that's good. If you want to change, I think almost everybody wants to change after a few moments in one position. You can bring your hands down to the mat. You can come into low flying pigeon by bringing your elbows down. You can make this into a winged dragon. Sorry, a low flying dragon. You can walk your foot out to the right That will open up your right hip. You come down onto your elbows. That intensifies this. Keep your left leg straight out behind, pushing your toenails down. But lengthen your spine. Try not to round. If you're in a winged dragon, with that leg out there, you can feel your iliacus, your other hip flexor, the flexor that lifts and pulls your legs outward, adducting. That leg, abducting, that leg, sorry. Breathe into wherever you feel those sensations. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your palms back to the mat. Push the floor away, lifting up. Walk your hands back. When you can release that right leg back to meet the left. You can do some cat-cows or make circles with your hips. Or you can curl your toes under, lift them up, lift up your hips into downward facing dog. And then carefully lower your your knees back down onto the mat, into the table. And this time we're going to do spinal balance. So start by lifting that right foot up again, placing it on the back wall. And then lift your left arm up like you're reaching out to shake somebody's hand. Reach really far and then pull it back into your shoulder socket. Look at the mat just inside your right fingers. Now this spinal balance is building strength in your core. And you can take a break whenever you wish. But on your next exhale, bring your left elbow to your right knee in a crunch. Inhale, come all the way back out. And then exhale, crunch again. One more. And pause here for a moment. And then my favorite yoga pose of all, awkward airplane. Bring your left arm way out to the left and bring your right foot way out to the right. Check how high that right foot is. It should be as high as your hip. And then inhale back to center. Exhale into awkward airplane. Inhale back to center. Exhale, awkward airplane. If you do this just a little faster, you'll take off. Inhale back to center. One more time, all the way out. And then lower your right foot down onto the mat, or onto the floor. Your left hand down. Walk your hands back, come up onto your knee. Your right leg is straightish, out to the right, and your toes are pointed towards the front of the room. From here, this is gate pose. Now, gate is going to be a side bend. So you can bring your right hand onto your right thigh, lift that left arm up overhead, really reach high, On an exhale, lean over to the right. And you're trying to make this into a side bend. Maybe you can look up at the eye of your elbow. Maybe not. Another option you can do, you can lean back just a little bit to make sure that you're not making this into a twist. Maybe you want to bend your elbow, pat yourself on the back, and see how this impacts that left shoulder. Breathe steady. Your next inhale, bring that left arm all the way back up. Come back up yourself. Bring your hands down to the mat. Return your right knee to meet the left. Do a couple of cat-cows here. Next time you come to center, pause. Bring your left arm out, level with the earth, look to the left. On an inhale, lift that arm and shoulder and twist up towards the ceiling. And on an exhale, thread the needle. Left hand behind the right wrist, way off to the right side of the mat. Coming down onto your shoulder. Your palm is facing the ceiling. Now, just thread the needle. This might be the perfect pose for you right now, but a couple of modifications you can make. One is you can come up onto your right toes, flex your foot. That lifts your hip up a little bit, gives your lungs a little bit more space. And then another option is you can spider walk your hand towards the front of your mat until you're all stretched out. This is opening up your shoulder in a different way from your left arm, in a different way than the gate pose when you were doing the side bend. Breathe into your lungs. Notice if there's any restriction of where you breathe. And then breathe into that area. And on your next exhale, return your right hand next to your face. Lower your knee down. And on an inhale, push the floor away with your left hand, retrieving the right. And then back to table, do a couple of cat-cows here. Probably feels better on your shoulders than your hips this time. And the next time you come to center, pause. Walk your knees out to the edges of your mat. Bring your toes together and then walk your hips back to your sit bones or to your heels and come into child's pose. We won't be here too long, but your arms don't have to be out in front if you don't want. You can bring your arms back down by your feet. Just let your arms completely relax.
And notice your breath. In child's pose, your belly is free to breathe however you wish. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your hands back down onto the mat. Rise up into table. Do a couple more cat-cows. And the next time you come to center pause, this time lift your left foot up and back, push that heel away. Feel your hamstrings stretching. And on an exhale, bring that left foot up next to your left pinky finger. And come up into baby dragon. You have those same options. You can keep that leg straight up if you wish. You can overstep it. You can do something in between. You can move that right knee back. Try to lower your hips. Try drawing, but just take your fingers and put them right on your hip points there. That's actually your femurs. But are they in line? If they're not, draw your left hip back and your right hip forward until you're in line with the front of your mat. Now, the reason to keep your spine straight here is that you get gravity working in your favor, coming straight down on top of your pelvis, trying to get your pelvis down to the mat. It gives you the most amount of stretch. Notice where you feel this the most. Breathe into it. And stay here if you wish. If you'd like to modify this, bring your hands down to the mat. Maybe walk that left foot out a little or a lot. And let that left knee just fall open. Come up onto the pinky toe side of your foot. You come down onto your elbows, onto the mat, or you can raise the floor with a block. And feel how different this is. This is the part of dragon that I forgot was so bad, and why I hate this pose. But keep your spine long. If at any time the pose becomes too great, you can always back up. Or if it becomes easy, then your edge shifts so that you can go a little bit farther. And that's the time to push a little bit farther, as long as you can still soften. But softening your muscles in the pose is really the most important thing, because that will stimulate your fascia to grow and give you more space for your muscles to move, making you more flexible, and giving you more mobility. I know everybody wants to stay in this pose longer, but we have other things to do. Push the floor away with your hands. Walk your hands back until you can free up that left foot to come back to meet the right. Do some more cat-cows if that is what's best for you. Make circles. You can lift one leg and then the other. Or you can come up into down dog and lift your legs if that helps. And then when you're ready, come back down into table. This time, lift your left leg up again. Push that heel away. Make sure that that left hip is being held down level with earth. And then lift up your hand to shake somebody else's. Gaze at the mat. You don't want your head to be lifting up. You want your spine straight all the way from your sacrum to your skull. And then on your exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale back out. Elbow to knee. Inhale out. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, extend. Pause here. And then inhale, awkward airplane. The left leg comes out. Right arm goes out. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, out. Inhale to center. Exhale out. Inhale, center. One more. Exhale out. Lower that left foot. Lower the right hand. Walk your hands back, rising up onto that knee. Make sure that your heel, knee, and knee are roughly in line. Lift the crown of your head up towards the ceiling, your spine nice and long. Inhale that right arm up overhead. And on an exhale, side bend to the left. Now, if you end up cramping up in your abdomen, that probably means that your organs are not satisfied, but just breathe into your diaphragm, pushing the organs down below your rib cage, so that when you exhale, there's more space for them. Look up at the eye of your elbow. Maybe lean back just a little bit. Maybe if you want to try it, it's not necessary. Pat yourself on the back. And notice how your shoulder is opening. Soften your breathing. You're stretching your groin on the left leg. And on your inhale, rise all the way back up. Lower your hands down to the mat. Come back into table. Another couple cat cows. Next time you come to center pause, bring your right arm out to the side, parallel to the floor. And on an inhale, lift your right shoulder up, twisting. And then exhale, thread the needle, right arm behind the left wrist, way over to the left. Coming down onto your shoulder, maybe onto your cheek, right side of your head. And pause here for just a minute. Maybe adjust exactly where that hand is. If you want it a little more intense on your shoulder, move that hand and arm a little bit closer to the front of the mat. If you want it a little bit less, you can bring it a little bit farther towards your knees. And the modifications are the same. You can come up onto your left toes, curl them under, straighten that leg, get a little stretch on your lower leg and your Achilles. And maybe you want to stretch out that left arm by spider walking towards the front of the mat and beyond. Opening up your armpit. Soften your breath here. But breathe into wherever the sensations are greatest. This is a twist. So you should be feeling this from your right shoulder to your left hip. But with your arms in this configuration, your body's likely as confused as I am. 3 more breaths. And on your next inhale, walk your hand back next to your face. Lower your knee down. Inhale, push the floor away. Retract your right arm out and up. And then come back to table. A couple more cat cows. The next time you come to center pause, come down onto your favorite hip and swing your feet around to the front of the mat. We're going to do caterpillar, then dragonfly, and then a supported bridge. So you have options of using blocks. I'm going to take advantage of those. Just to get my hips up high enough so that gravity works a little bit in my favor. Inhale, your chest high. Tuck your chin just a little bit so the crown of your head comes up. Your legs are out straight-ish.
toes, your feet are flexed. And on an exhale, begin walking your hands on the outsides of your legs, drawing your collarbones towards your feet. And the crown of your head towards the far wall until you hit that resistance. And then pause there. And begin to soften. You can use blocks underneath your knees. You can use a block on your knees to support your head. If you have an urge to pull on your legs, please resist it. That would be Dandasana in my Ashtanga class. Maybe you just want to bring your palms up towards the ceiling. That will lower your shoulder blades. Really relax your upper body. If you bend your elbows and bring them closer to your hips. Listen carefully. Open your eyes and look at your feet. Are your feet close together or are they about hip width apart? If they're not, if they are together, walk them apart about 2 fist widths. You can just put your fists up in front of you and see how far apart that is. And then just fold forward again and see if there's any difference. And likely you'll find a difference. That's because your muscles get bound up when your feet are close together. When your feet are hip width apart, the muscles are more in line. And so they don't interact cross body. Now, if your feet are still flexed, try just relaxing your toes, let them fall towards the front of the mat, and see what that does for your forward fold. Maybe you can come forward a little bit. And if you're in fear of falling off your block, if you're on a block, don't worry. It won't be much of a fall. Allow your spine to round. Allow your head to fall forward. Maybe draw some circles on the floor with your nose, just little tiny ones. You want to make sure that you're not holding any tension in your neck. Those are the smallest muscles in your body. You really don't need to aggravate them. Breathe into wherever the tensions are still present. And if you'd like another modification, you can try moving the person behind you and see if that gives you any more fold.
Or maybe try lifting up your sacrum. And then relaxing back down and softening again. Begin to deepen your breath. In your next inhale, slowly walk your hands back up. Bring your hands behind your hips. Bring your footprints onto the mat. And start very slowly with windshield wipers. Feeling what's going on in your legs, in your hips. The next time you come to center, pause. Now we have Dragonfly, which is a straddle. So you can go up on a block on Dragonfly also. There's no law against it. Although I think one of my yoga instructors probably would have frowned on it. Too bad. But anyway, so your legs can be out straight with your feet up, or they can be bent, or you can make a change somewhere in between. From here, lift your spine tall, lift your chin just a little bit, and then slowly begin to walk your hands forward, drawing your collarbones beyond the end of your mat, and the crown of your head towards the far wall. Now this pose is stretching your groins and your hamstrings, but it's also stretching your spine. Pause when it's appropriate for you. Use whatever tricks you've learned so far to trigger your muscles to relax. It may be just to take your hand on your inner thighs, just to touch your muscles so that they know they have permission to release. It doesn't take much. But just like you, they need recognition for the job they do. If you'd like to relax your back, you can always bring your palms up towards the ceiling. Bring your elbows closer to your hips. Your shoulder blades will drop down towards your hips. And notice what part of your lungs your breath go to. Maybe you'd like to direct your breath to your kidneys. Maybe one side at a time. and see how your body responds. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up maybe halfway. Open your eyes and see where you are in space. And if you'd like to try bending your knees and bringing your footprints on the mat, maybe that works today, maybe not. And then when you're ready, fold again. And this time, let your hands go wherever they want. And don't feel tied to the decision that you just made if it's not comfortable. This is your practice, your body. Do what's right for you. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin walking your hands back. Help your legs come back together. If you're on the block, carefully remove it. And begin to windshield wiper again. Maybe using different foot locations to see if that makes any difference in your hips. These counter poses are so personal because everyone is so different. The next time you come to center pause, come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Walk your feet to your sit bones. Make sure you have a block available. Bring your palms onto the mat next to your hips. We're going to do 2 bridges, and then we'll do the supported bridge. So on an inhale, tuck your tailbone under. That brings your sacrum into contact with the mat. Inhale, lift up. And then exhale, lower back down. Inhale, tuck again, lift up. This time, drag your heels towards your shoulders. See what that does. Puts a little bit of tension in your psoas, and then come back down. This time, grab your block. Your block has 3 different elevations. Take the highest way you feel comfortable. On an inhale, lift up. Place the block underneath your sacrum with the longest dimension left to right, and lower back down. Try moving your hips forwards and backwards, left and right, to make sure that you're stable. And if you are, you don't have to, but maybe you want to walk your feet out towards the front of the mat. You can keep your footprints on the mat if that feels better for you, or you can just come to the back of your heels. If you've never tried walking your feet apart, maybe now's the day. And then, with everybody's eyes closed, bring your hands up on your hip crease. And just let them rest there for a moment. Right near your iliopsoas muscles, giving them permission to soften. And if you'd like a little bit more tension, raise your arms up towards the ceiling and then lower them down onto the mat beyond your head. And find some support for your elbows, your forearms, and your hands. If one arm is bobbing in the air, your chest is not going to relax. So even if you have to bring your arms back down beside your body, that's okay. Soften your glutes here. Feel as if the only thing holding your legs up off of the mat is your hip socket. None of your muscles are doing any work. If your feet want to fall one way or the other, let them. Begin to deepen your breath. Return your hands back down by your sides. Bend your knees and walk your footprints up towards your hips. And when you're ready, lift your hips up, remove the block, set it aside, and gently return to earth. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Maybe bring your head towards your knees. That extra little bit of rounding of your spine helps. Push your hips away so that you can rock all the way from one side to the other. The next time you come to center pause, straighten out your left leg to the front of the mat. Push that heel away. Then your right leg. Bring your arms up overhead one more time. Stretch from heels to palms. From manicure to pedicure. Turn your arms back down by your sides or way out to the sides. Coming into Shavasana, the best Shavasana for you. You can walk your feet a comfortable distance apart. Maybe rock your hips from left to right, finding that location that is just made for your sacrum. Let your head rock left to right until your skull is adequately being held in place. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose. Exhale through your nose. And take rest.
Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists and to your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right. And then the next time you're over on your right side, pause there in fetal pose, using your right arm as a pillow. Do a quick body scan to discover if you have any tension or stress that hasn't been addressed in today's class, so that you can take care of that later today or sometime in the near future. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away. Rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this afternoon. I am so grateful that we can be back together practicing in person while still offering Zoom and classes for those who can't make it. Take the compassion and empathy that you practice every time you step onto your mat and share it with your family, your friends, and each person you meet during the week. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga.